Hey guys, this is Kip Ryan. Hope things are going well. Today I wanted to talk to you about a sci-fi miniatures game called Horizon Wars Zero Dark that I've been enjoying a lot. This game is not Infinity, but it is miniatures agnostic and it is roughly skirmish/squad scale, so you'll find that you can use your Infinity models just fine. And indeed, the author of this game clearly has some love for Infinity because you can see some of his miniatures right there. Bonus points for anyone who can identify that fine gentleman on the right. Also, I feel like a lot of the mechanics of this game feel similar to Infinity, even if the specific nitty-gritty details end up being fairly different. So, with that in mind, hopefully you'll let me talk about this game some, and if you like what you hear, maybe you'll give it a shot. A couple of things before we dive into it. First things first, I am playing this game entirely solo. I think the solo rules are really interesting. The AI that handles enemy activations, I think, is really nifty, especially if you have the variation in one of the expansions. And I find that the time it takes to play and the ability to set things up and kind of leave them there is suiting my lifestyle right now. So while there are PvP rules, I haven't used them and I have no opinion on them. Second, partly because I am playing solo, I'm not actually playing this 100% by the book. There are a number of circumstances where I've had to make my own tweaks or my own changes to how things work in order so that the game could really sing for me. Since it's a solo game, I can do that no problem. But if you're not comfortable trying to tweak things according to your own taste, then you probably will bounce off this game. Some of these changes are fairly innocuous. For example, instead of using the cylinder system from Horizon Wars Zero Dark, which tells you how big a miniature is supposed to represent, I'm just using Infinity and Infinity silhouettes. I know how big those are. I have the little stands and the ruler thing that is good for checking silhouette size, and I found no reason to use the cylinders from Horizon Wars. Other things were more substantive. There definitely were some combinations of rules or combinations of abilities that felt really cheesy to me, at least as I understood them, and I just house ruled to get rid of those things because I felt like I didn't really enjoy the game if that's what it was all about. Now, the good news is these cases were pretty rare. When they happened, they stood out really glaringly, in fact, so much so that it's possible that I just misunderstood the rules. And because it was such a big standout, I did not have a problem house ruling them. But if that's something that you don't want to do in your game, I get it, I understand, but maybe give this game a pass. One other related concept is that Horizon Wars Zero Dark feels to me like the work of one author without a really big team. What this means is that the production value just isn't quite there in terms of the editing and the layout. The PDF over here doesn't have bookmarks in it, for example. And I don't think that's necessarily a problem. Certainly I can manage this just fine, but it's not going to feel like as polished of a product as, say, 5 parsecs from home. I think this game is more fun than that one, but it is going to require you, the reader, to do a little bit more work because what you're looking at is a much smaller team. Of course, if you're coming here from Infinity, then you know all about how much trouble it is to read FAQs and try to understand what rules is written is intended, and you should have no problem doing that in this game. Actually, it's easier because if you're playing solo, then it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. You can just decide how the rules work. And the third thing I want to talk about is what products you actually need in order to run the game as I've been running it. Principally, there are 3 big products that I've been using. Well, not all 3 are big. There's the Horizon Wars Zero Dark core rulebook, there's Zero Dark Operation Nemesis, and then there's this free Horizon Wars errata and FAQ that I think is sometimes referred to as the 2021 Rules Update. What I've been doing, and what I really enjoyed doing, is playing through the campaign in Operation Nemesis using the rules from Zero Dark, the rules changes from Operation Nemesis, and the rules changes from the errata and FAQ here, along with, of course, the minor tweaks that I have made myself. That said, when I got started, I actually started with Horizon Wars Zero Dark Training Run. This, I believe, is a free product. It includes some basic rules about how the game is supposed to work and a basic scenario. I found that the basic scenario was essentially okay as a training run, which is what it was described to be, but I did not feel that the game really sang in that training run. In particular, it felt a little basic, a little simplistic, and kind of hard in ways that were annoying and easy in ways that were also annoying. So I didn't love the training run, but it's free and it was useful as a place to start. And I don't really want to diss the training run too much. I just kind of want to say that the game gets really interesting once you go past what's included here in the training run. And speaking of the game getting interesting, let me kind of just dive into a bit of the mechanics of the game. Like in Infinity, you are managing a small team of elite soldiers. It's smaller than Infinity. You're going to have like 4 troopers with maybe a couple of add-ons, but it's still small like Infinity. These troopers are going to have a handful of stats, fewer than in Infinity, but there's some similarity. If you look closely in the bottom right, you can see the cylinder status here, which I've replaced with Infinity's silhouette system because they're essentially the same, but, I'm familiar with Infinity. And also, like Infinity, your troopers are going to have upgrades and gadgets and special abilities, which distinguish them from everybody else. There's armor, like you can see here, but there's little drones that can follow you around. You can get this little dog. I think the rules for the dog are on the next page, but basically this guy will, help you in close combat and also help you if you need to drag something, which is nice and cute. And you will use your dudes and their stats and their abilities to go on missions and try to accomplish things. Opposing your heroes will be the Red Force. The Red Force is a team of grunts and elites and bosses and snipers and enemy hackers and mechs and stuff, all collectively known as bogies. You set them up using this grid in the bottom right down there, and then during play, you use a deck of cards to determine their behavior. Basically, you draw a card, the number on the card tells you whether a grunt, an elite, or a boss will act, then the suit of the card tells you what type of action they take. Of course, if you draw a Joker, that's where the complications come in. What you're looking at here is the simplified version of that thing from the training run rules, but the actual overall rules are basically the same idea with a little bit more stuff involved. So, okay, you've got your team, you've got your bogies. How do you actually play? I'm not going to go into every detail here, but I want to give you a high-level summary because I think the core dice mechanic is pretty interesting. When you want to do something that requires rolling, you're going to have a bunch of d12s that you're going to roll, and you're going to have a target number that you need to hit. What you do is you take your d12s, you roll all of them, and then you form little groups of dice whose numbers add up to the target number in question. So, let's suppose you were shooting someone. Let's suppose you were rolling 6 dice. That's a little bit more than you probably would roll to shoot someone, but let's just say you had 6 dice. And then let's say you rolled the numbers that are showing up here on the screen. Let's also suppose that the target number was 10. This might be informed by how far away your target was, how much cover they were in, how much armor they had on, and what the visibility level of the mission is, so how dark and dusty it is. But let's say you're going for 10. What you would then do is form groups of dice that add up to 10. So the 12 all by itself, that's higher than 10, so that's 1 success. The 11, again, 1 success. And then you could take the 3 and the 7 together, those add up to 10, that's another success. The 1 and the 5 on their own or added together don't help you in this example, but, if your target number was 8 or 13 or something, you can imagine different combinations where those 1 and 5 might be useful. One additional thing happens when you roll a 12. 12s are special, they're kind of like your crits. They always add 1 success in addition to whatever number value is here. So, in our previous example, we had 4 successes based on adding things up into little groups, plus 1 more because we rolled a 12, which gives us 5 successes. Armed with this number of successes, we now need to spend them. Typically, your first success is going to go to whatever it is you were actually trying to do. If you're trying to medic someone's injuries, your first success is going to heal their injuries. If you're trying to sneak across the doorway, your first success is going to be being sneaky. Of course, some things do require multiple successes. For example, the way that wounds work on bogies is that you need to have multiple successes equal to the target's wounds all at once if you want to put them unconscious. But anyway, with our 5 successes, we probably have more than enough in order to do whatever it is we're trying to do. So, once we have spent the required successes, everything left over can be turned into bonus actions. And each bonus action that you buy with a success is something like moving, or shooting, or going prone, or getting a support token. All this adds up to mean that when you're trying to choose what action to take, you need to consider not only the primary thing that your action might accomplish, but also its potential to generate bonus actions and how those bonus actions might be useful. I find this core mechanic really, really compelling. Like, sometimes you're doing something that's hard and you need to pool all your resources even just to hope to get the minimum number of successes. Other times, you have a lot of easy things to do, but you still need to decide how to generate the right number of bonus actions in order to accomplish your tactical objectives. This is also to say nothing of the dice, which can sometimes be really cruel to you or can reward you with lots of 12s and thus lots of bonus actions to spend when you weren't expecting to. Which, from a core dice mechanic, I think is really, really cool. Honestly, I like this core dice mechanic so much that I'm trying to figure out if I can lift it from this game and put it into other tactical games that I've been playing. Like, it's really cool. The last core mechanic I'm going to discuss is the turn structure and the way activations work. At the face of it, it's kind of simple. On your turn, you choose a character, that character acts, maybe some bonus actions are generated, and when you're done, you're going to draw a card and the red force is going to go. On your next turn, same thing, choose a character, actions, bonus actions, red force, done. What's interesting is there's nothing stopping you from choosing the same character to act as on a previous turn. If you wanted to, you could have the first quarter of the mission be entirely the same person activating again and again and again. It might not be the best thing to do tactically, but you could do it. And once again, I think this mechanic is really cool. Every action happens because you choose the character that you really want to act given the current board state. Sometimes this is because you've got someone in the thick of it and you really need them to act. Other times this is because you want to activate someone on the other side of the board in order to pull the bogeys over in that direction. And you never find yourself in the boring situation where you have to activate a trooper because it's their turn, but they don't really have anything particularly interesting to do. I mean, if you have a character that doesn't have something to do, just pick someone else, right? Infinity players, this will feel very familiar once you're playing it. It's a lot like when you take all of your orders from your cheerleaders and you put them into your rainbow or your sniper or your HMG guy or whatever. And it ends up being a mechanic that I think is really cool. Okay, so what else? There is, of course, a lot more that I could talk about. I could give details on the special abilities. I could talk about how the campaign structure works and how getting experience works, or I could get into some of my house rules. Like, for example, I don't let you take the shoot bonus action after a cautious move primary action unless you are the person that was actually doing the cautious movement. On the flip side, I could get into some complaints. I could say that some of the abilities don't seem balanced relative to other abilities, and I could remark that the editing and layout kind of confused me in a number of occasions. But overall, I kind of feel like those are details, and mostly what I want to convey in this video is that I am excited about this game. I have played through the training run scenario, I have played through the 3 sessions of the campaign in the core rulebook, and I just today finished the 12-session, 12-mission Operation Nemesis campaign. If you count all the missions I had to redo because I lost, I think I would say I've probably played 20 games of Horizon Wars Zero Dark at this point, and I really have enjoyed it a lot. Now, how many games will I play in total? It's hard to say. I am not going to get anywhere near the number of games that I have played of Infinity. In fact, because this is a solo game and, I kind of have a feeling for how the enemies work, I may not get more than another 20 games of it in the future. But I am really excited about the time that I have spent with this game, and I hope if you do give it a shot that you find it exciting too. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you around.